Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make a video in kind of a standard format concerning something that I see every now and then on my channel, although I think I see it more often in real life, where you'll have women basically go up to men and make the claim that men need to care about women's issues. Men need to be concerned about things that affect women because that's the right thing to do, or women are mistreated in society, or any of that other kind of crap that you hear, basically. And I wanted to address this because it is a little bit annoying when women try to make the claim that we as men need to consider their issues. And at the same time, there's a particular response to this that I think is appropriate. People get caught up in, frankly, either acquiescing to what the women say that they want. Oh, yeah, I should care about this because you say so. Or even for the guys that try to make an argument against it and say, well, no, I disagree with you because of this and that. A lot of the time, I don't think that's the right response. And I want to explain why that is. So the problem right off the bat is that men have more issues in society today. Our society really gives men the short end of the stick when it comes to a lot of things, whether you're looking at the family law courts being so one-sided in favor of women, gender roles. Only men have gendered expectations today, right? Men are still measured by how much money they make or how well, they can provide stability and resources for women. But yet at the same time, if you ask a woman to make you a sandwich, that's considered sexist. You look at the homeless populations, you look at the suicide rates for men, it's pretty clear to me that men have serious issues. That what do women have on the other side of that for comparison? Mansplaining, the wage gap, which is a myth. The whole idea of the wage gap is that women should get paid more for doing less. It's not an apples to apples comparison. It's very easy to show where that's not really valid. It's illegal to pay women less for doing the same work as men, right? And so women can sue the company they work for if that's the case, and they have evidence for it. But without getting into those particulars, men have a lot of issues that no one really cares about. And the thing about it is, even if a woman, and of course a lot of women will say this, and some men would say this too, even if you want to argue no, that despite these valid issues that I've listed for men that men have, women still have more problems, or as many problems somehow. The problem is, it's not even a matter of making the argument or the case that men have more problems. It's a matter of the whole equality basis for all of this. Clearly, society does not care about men's problems, right? Whether you want to argue that they're more severe or more of a concern than the problems that women supposedly have or not, it's clear that men are just expected to handle their own problems. If you marry the so-called wrong woman, that's your mistake, right? In a divorce. Men hear this all the time. If you don't want to be with a woman that expects you to do this or that or make a certain amount of money, that's your fault too. If you don't want to have a kid, then you shouldn't have had sex with a woman, even while women have all these other reproductive rights that men don't have. So no one really cares about men in a variety of situations. No one cares about men that are homeless. In some cases, we even want to focus on homeless women over the homeless men in terms of, who we're supposed to have compassion for, even though clearly men are more affected by this and have a much greater risk of something like homelessness or suicide. So the bottom line is, even feminists, by their own argument, by their own position, they say we shouldn't care about men's issues, right? Men have advantages. Men are oppressing women in society at large, the patriarchy and all that kind of stuff. So we shouldn't care about men. Feminists advocate for not caring about men's problems. But the issue is, if women are supposed to be equal to men, and they can do anything we can do, and all we do is cause them problems, then why do we need to be concerned about their problems, right? If women can do anything we can do and they don't need us, and they want to be our equals, and the equality is on the basis of not giving a crap about men's issues, then why should we care about women's issues? Now, I want to focus on some specific examples of this so that people can know what I'm saying in practice, right? When it comes to actual issues that not just feminists, but women in general, most women will say that they have concerns that may or may not be legit depending on whether it makes any sense or not. But let me give examples of what I'm talking about. So you see in a lot of states now challenges to abortion rights for women, right? Especially your more conservative states, and even Ohio has this heartbeat bill. I'm not sure whether it became law or not. I imagine that it did, but I haven't looked up its status recently. But, you know, the idea that as soon as a heartbeat is detected, you can't have an abortion of convenience, right? You can't have an abortion unless there's an extenuating circumstance like, you know, sex that wasn't consensual or, you know, incest or something of that nature. But regardless of what the particular laws being introduced are, the real sort of political side of this, and I don't want to get into that too much here, is conservative states know that this is their chance to overturn Roe v. Wade. And really, conservative politicians in general think that with the Supreme Court the way that it is now, this is the opportunity to basically have some other sort of judgment or ruling from the Supreme Court that says, you know, Roe v. Wade and the sort of implication that women have the right to abortion of convenience, well, we're going to undo that now. A lot of conservatives, your traditional social conservatives, they basically think that this is their opportunity to end that policy. And so that's why you see states introducing this. I think this isn't stated specifically in most cases, but the idea is when one of these laws in a more conservative state is overturned at the state level for being not constitutional, that the Supreme Court will then hear the case and then they'll rule that these state laws that greatly restrict abortion, that those things are indeed constitutional. And the idea is there'll basically be a workaround, a complete overturning basically of Roe v. Wade. That's not literally how Supreme Court cases get decided. You know, there's not literally an overturning of an old case, but this will supersede what Roe v. Wade has made law up until this point, that women have a right to an abortion because it supposedly fits into privacy. So at an intellectual level, I could understand this. I am, generally speaking, pro-life. I don't believe in abortion of convenience. I think that's disgusting, and I think that that's really just pretty terrible that women can do that for any or no reason. But I do believe that if the woman's life is legitimately in danger or she didn't consent to the sex, I don't believe that women should be forced into having that child, or if there's incest or something of that nature. But I don't care about how women's rights are threatened. I don't care about what will women do in a socially conservative state if Roe v. Wade is undone. Again, focusing on the things that aren't of convenience, focusing on the examples that I gave that are not just your normal case of, like, for example, not consenting to the sex. I don't care. I don't think that's good that at that level states can just decide that women have no reproductive rights. But guess what? Men don't have any reproductive rights, right? If a woman lies and says she's on the pill and then ends up getting pregnant and then ends up trying to get child support from that guy, it doesn't matter whether he consented to having that kid or not. It doesn't matter whether he thought she was on the pill or not. None of that makes any difference because men don't have reproductive rights. You know, if a woman pokes a hole in a condom and gets pregnant that way, the result's the same, right? The man is expected to take care of that child that he clearly didn't consent to have. So no one cares about men's reproductive rights. Women are equal to men, according to feminist logic, or not even logic, but the claims that they make. We know that that's not really what feminism advocates for. What feminism really advocates for is control over men. But that doesn't really matter, right? By using their own reasoning or line of argumentation against them, if you think men and women are equal, and women can do everything men can do, and no one cares about men's reproductive rights, why on earth would we care about your reproductive rights? Why should we? If you're at the same level as us and no one cares about our problems when that happens, why should we want to defend your position on the abortion issue? Why should we care? That's your problem. That's a woman's issue, just like our issue with not getting a woman pregnant is our problem and our issue as men. That's the societal expectation, so why should we advocate on your behalf as women? A second example to this is the mentor her stuff that we see now in the wake of the Me Too movement. So the idea, of course, just very briefly, of mentor her is that men shouldn't abandon the idea of helping women grow in the workplace, learn their jobs better, right? Be able to establish their so-called careers. The problem with that is no one cares really about men being put in this situation where if a woman makes an accusation against them in a workplace, everyone's just supposed to listen and believe, and unless you can prove your innocence in a decisive way through surveillance or whatever, you're going to be considered guilty and you're going to get fired in a lot of cases as a man for trying to mentor her. And again, no one cares about men in these situations. No one has men's back and says no. And I don't want to get into this in terms of this particular issue a whole lot, but where are the women coming out against Me Too and just listen and believe? Where are the women that are saying, well, no, wait a second. If we want to be treated fairly in these situations, we have to respect men's due process rights, and then maybe they'll take our claims seriously. No, that's not the way it works, right? No one cares about men that have accusations made against them. No one cares about the idea of a false accusation going unpunished. So if no one cares about having men's back in this situation, why on earth should we help women? Again, there's no special treatment. You're supposed to be equal to us by the culture and the legal system and the politics of today. Our culture says men and women are supposed to be equal. Well, no one has our back. No one's making an effort to make sure that we aren't screwed over by having a false accusation made against us. So why should we bother with being alone with you? Why should we care about your concern that, if you try to look out for yourself, then we won't have someone teach us about how to grow in this environment? Who cares? That's your problem, right? No one has our back. You're equal to us. Why should we care about your issues? Why should we be concerned about the woman's perspective when no one's concerned with our perspective and we're supposed to be equal? It doesn't work that way. You don't get to have this special system where you can make an accusation against us with basically no punishment and then at the same time think that we're going to help you out. That's not equality. That's not holding women and men to the same standard, and so men have no reason to play that kind of game. The third example, and it's more of a broad example rather than specific points, although there are a million different issues that you can think of here, is just the idea of men being the providers and protectors of women in society. You see cases where a wild animal will attack a woman and the man won't help out, or a guy will attack a woman and another guy just is like, not my problem. We've seen cases where, I can't remember, I think it was outside of a hotel where this woman got the crap beat out of her by some deranged guy, and the guys just sort of closed the door and said, you know what, the men that were security guards of that building, maybe it wasn't a hotel, I can't remember right offhand, maybe it was just an office building, but they didn't get involved. And of course they got fired for it, but that's a complete absurdity, right? Why should men want to help random women to protect them if they're equal to us? Who in society protects us? If a guy gets the crap beat out of him, unless there's a male family member or friend or whatever that stands up for that guy, you're just going to get the crap beat out of you. Women are not going to stand up and protect us. The same is true for provision. Men are still measured by how much money they make. Men are still measured by whether they're financially desirable or not in relationships with women. But women don't take care of us. Women have no willingness to pay for our expenses. So if you're equal to us and you don't do that for us, why should we play that role? And that came up recently in a live stream with one of my favorite content creators that he did recently, where we talked about how he's an older guy, and when second wave feminism was going on and women were basically saying, oh, we don't need no men, we can do anything men can do, we're strong and independent, he decided, all right, Right then and there, he decided he wasn't going to play that provider role. Why should you play your traditional role if women are completely abandoning theirs and men and women are, again, supposed to be equal? How does that work? Well, it only works when women are told they can have it all and there's no one standard that you can actually hold them to. Special but equal yet victim, right? It's not even a double standard. It's a whole spectrum of standards. And that's a topic for another video that I want to do in the future, the whole special but equal yet victim idea. But again, why should men play this provider-protector role when women aren't playing any of their traditional gender roles? And you see this in the form of, where have all the good men gone all the time from women? Where are the men that want to take care of us? Where are the men that want to protect us? You can do that yourself, darling. That's not our problem. I'm not talking about, and I want to make this point, I'm not talking about women that are actually in your life, like female family members or female friends, or if you're still dating or in a relationship, you're still pursuing that or you're still willing to be a part of that, your girlfriend. I'm not talking about people that are actually part of your life. I'm not saying that you don't care about these people and never want to do anything for them, but you treat them the same way that you would the equivalent of a male friend or a male family member. And if you're straight, there's no equivalent to having a girlfriend, but still, you don't take care of her. You don't play the provider role for her. You may care about her as a person and you may care about your connection with her, but there's still no reason for you to care about so-called women's issues or what women expect of men. And if she thinks that you should provide for her and take care of her and protect her all the time from her own mistakes and whatnot, that's probably not a healthy relationship to be in, to be honest. So what's the point of all this? The point of all this is men need to remain neutral to so-called women's issues. There's no reason to argue about abortion rights for women. There's no reason to concern yourself with these problems, right? The pink tax is another one. Oh, but women have to pay for their hygiene products and their makeup and stuff like that. Okay. Is anybody buying our razors and shaving cream? Is anyone buying our suits and ties? No. Okay. We don't care about what you want. We don't care about whether women think that they deserve to have their products paid or not. No one cares about men being taxed or having to pay for men's products. So why should we care about women's products? And again, the linchpin for all of this, guys, is women and men are supposed to be equal by the post-feminist, or according to the post-feminist culture that we have, right? Feminism won. Feminism's supposed to be about equality, which it's really not. But let's just say that it is, by their own words. If you're equal to us and no one's paying for our shaving needs, why should we pay for your feminine hygiene needs, right? Why should we care? That's not our problem. And so, again, guys, you don't have to argue with women on these issues. This is one of those kinds of things where there's really a silver lining, I think, in what has happened due to feminism and female-centric thinking, due to that dominating our culture and our system so much. There are so many things that are negative toward men where women have the upper hand, but one of the strengths that men still have is to be able to hold women to their own reasoning, or what passes for the reasoning through feminism, for why they think men should advocate on their behalf. It just doesn't make sense. If you're equal to us and no one cares about our problems, and furthermore, most women think we shouldn't care about men's problems. Men's problems are not worthy of consideration. Men's rights activists are terrorists. You see women that think that men that care about their own issues are awful all the time, but yet we're supposed to care about their problems. We're supposed to care about women's issues. Why? How is that so-called equality? If you believe in equality and you don't care about men's problems, why should we care about yours? It doesn't work that way. And you don't get to have it both ways. You cannot be special and worthy of special considerations because of so-called women's issues, and then at the same time think that you're equal to men and not care about men's issues. Doesn't work like that. Not to anybody that holds you to one standard. And so, again, This has to do with something that I've discussed before, which is the unintended consequences of feminism and gynocentrism, which is that women thought they could have it all. Women today have been told, you can do what you want, but men still need to be concerned and men need to take responsibility of basically everything that happens. Everything is men's fault. Well, that's really just not how it works, is it? If you're going to blame men for these problems and you're not going to care about men's issues and you're not going to care about men's interests, but then at the same time claim that you're equal to men and you don't need us, then, enjoy the ride, right? We're not going to deal with you or your issues. If you're at the same level as us and we're not worth that respect, then why should we respect your problems either? And women, of course, didn't count on this. They thought, well, wait a minute, we can just have our cake and eat it too. The majority of women that went along with feminism and with this whole special but equal yet victim mentality, they thought, well, we can just have whatever we want and there's no standard that men can hold us to, but there actually is. That standard is supposed to be equality. We're told men and women are equal. Well, therefore, anything that you basically put on that in terms of how you look at men, you're at the same level. Congratulations. You don't care about our problems. We don't have a reason to care about yours. Yay, equality. And so that's the point that I want to make with this, guys, is don't get involved in so-called women's issues. It doesn't matter whether you think that a pro-life or a pro-choice position makes sense in terms of reproductive rights. Again, I'm more pro-life, but even if you are going to be pro-choice, really to be consistent, you should think that men should have the right to paternal surrender for the same period that women think that they should have the right to abortions. But that's not the point, right? The way that you see this politically or intellectually doesn't matter. The point is, we don't need to care about women's issues. Women's issues are women's issues. That's the conclusion to this topic. Women's issues are women's issues. They concern women, not us. Why? Women have made it very clear, and society as a whole has made it very clear, that men need to handle their own problems. We don't care about men that commit suicide. We don't care about men that go through the family law courts. We don't care about men that have false accusations made against them or accusations in general. And you could apply that to everything that I'm saying to domestic violence too. There are so many issues where this applies, where women will come out and say, what about men that hit women? Well, no one cares about women that hit men, and you're equal to us, aren't you? So yeah, we don't care about women that get beat up. Sorry, that's their problem. Just like when women hit us or women are abusive to us, that's considered to be our problem. Again, equality. You can't get away from it. If you want to claim that men and women are equal, and then society treats men this way, why should we care about women in these same kinds of situations? And again, that's not to say that women that are actually part of your life. I'm not saying you shouldn't care about your female friend that's actually your friend and is proven that she's your friend, which is rare. But just for the sake of argument, that doesn't mean that if your female friend gets beat up that you shouldn't care about her. That's not to say that if a female family gets beat up that you actually consider family and treats you like family, that you shouldn't care about that, right? Or your girlfriend if you're still dating or being part of relationships. But for women as a whole, or for random women who want to say, oh, you should care about men who hurt women. There are abusive men out there everywhere. Well, there are abusive women out there too. And no one cares about men in those situations. In fact, society laughs at those men. And then if those men hit back, they're the bad ones. They need to go to jail. If that's the way you're going to treat men in society, if that's how society is going to look at men, and women and men are equal, that means we have no reason to care about women in these situations either. That's an unintended consequence of feminism. And of course, the solution to this, there is no solution. The technical, possible, hypothetical solution would be either give up on equality and say, hey, no, we're not equal to men. We can't do everything you can do. We want to have our issues cared about because we want to be special, but we sacrifice equality through that process. So now you have authority over families again as men. Now you have authority over society again. And women, of course, will never do this. They'll never give up that authority and that power. Or you say, all right, we're going to have true equality then. We're going to actually care about men's problems. we're actually going to be concerned with men killing themselves, be concerned with homeless men. We're going to advocate on making things actually equal and balanced in our society now by caring about men's issues if we want men to care about our issues as women. You'll never see that either outside of the men's rights movement. There are, of course, a few women and a number of men that would want to do this, but society as a whole will never do this. MRAs may beg to differ on that, but I think it's clear that no one cares about men's problems. So, again, equality is a bitch in this case because you can't get away from it. And the women that ardently say, we don't care about men's problems, men's issues are fake, or men's issues are nothing to be concerned about compared to women's issues. All right, you don't care about our problems, you're equal to us, therefore we don't care about your problems either. It's really that simple, and they can't get away from it. Once particular women show that that's where they stand on it, and once women in our society collectively, as they've shown that they want to be our equals supposedly, but then they don't care about our problems, why do we need to care about theirs? Women's issues are women's issues. Beyond the particular women that you may have in your life, I'm not saying you shouldn't care about those particular women, but it's not because they're women. It's because they have that association with you. But in terms of caring about women's issues, those are women's issues. They're not our issues. And as long as things continue to be the way they are, where there is no social contract between men and women anymore, and men are really given the short end of the stick, if we're going to be honest, when it comes to a lot of things, there is no balance. There is no equality. And it makes no sense to sit here and look at how men are treated and how no one cares about our problems as guys, but then think that somehow it's consistent with equality for us to still go out there and care about women's problems that, frankly, a lot of them are fabricated. But even for the problems that women actually have legitimate concern with, those are women's concerns. Those are women's issues. They are not our problem as men in society today.